Feel better now. Nissan. Innovation that excites. Get ready for the postgame action. Starting right now.
Well, that was fun. Baylor routs Texas Tech in Lubbock. The second half of the season begins with a bang. And for the Bears, positive momentum heading into next week's homecoming game after from start to finish that elusive 60-minute football game. The Bears authored it this evening. They hand Texas Tech their first home loss of the season, their first Big 12 loss of the season, and the Bears in the process get their first Big 12 victory and will look to keep things going next week against Oklahoma State. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Alongside Baylor legend Bryce Hager, I am Derek Smith. Aaron Sexton, our producer this evening. All Baylor in this win as they knock off Texas Tech by a score of 59-35. Contributors/stars abound. Sawyer Robertson delivers the Bears' first 5-touchdown passing game since Seth Russell did it against West Virginia back in 2015. Bryson Washington finishes with his second career 100-yard rushing game. You have Josh Cameron with 3 touchdowns. You have guys on defense coming up big. Caden Jenkins returns and gets an interception. You have sacks today from Matt Jones and Steve Linton, and it all adds up to a big Baylor victory. You knew coming in that Baylor on a 3-game losing streak, Tech on a 4-game winning streak. You were going to have to do some work to turn those streaks around. And Baylor did that today. And Bryce Hager, what a game by the Bears. I think they were able to tune out a lot of possible negativity after those losses heading into the bye week and made a statement today that they are indeed that better football team than maybe they've looked record-wise over these last couple of weeks.
Well, absolutely. That's exactly how you want to come out of a bye week. You take the time to practice, to learn from mistakes, and build off of that time when you have a week off. And that's the kind of result you want coming out of a bye week. We were firing on all cylinders: offense, defense, special teams, playing complementary football. I mean, we challenged the offense rushing game. Over 200 yards rushing tonight. I mean, that's what you need to open up the game for Sawyer, and I think his 5 touchdowns was a testament to that rushing game today. Defense stepped up when they need to. Special teams did what they needed to do. Josh Cameron, I mean, he's showing up when he needs to show up. He's doing great things. I'm a huge fan of him. Offense, when his number's called, he makes plays. Punt return, when his number's called, he makes plays. Overall, that's what we needed to do. We needed to go in Lubbock. We need to get the win and go 1-0 this week, and we were able to do that, and now it's time to build off of that.
Great rundown there, Bryce. And you look at what Baylor did today. I think after both teams traded punts to start the game, I think Baylor clearly showed today was going to be different. You had Bryson Washington ripping off a long run. This is Baylor offense that the running game has really been stalled the last few weeks, just 135 yards per game. Well, Bryson Washington ripped off that long run down to the 1 after it was determined that he was out at the 1. Boy, the offensive line really blew Texas Tech off the line of scrimmage. They had a great surge right away, and it just seemed to me like maybe a small moment, but it was a statement early on that maybe the day was going to be a little bit different.
I mean, yeah, if your guys up front are taking charge of the game, those guys create the momentum. Those guys create the tempo for the game. If you're moving the ball, running the ball, I mean, Bryson Washington did a great job running today with, pure domination. I mean, awesome to see that. And as a result of that, we see how that opens up the passing game for Sawyer. He did a great job seeing the field. I mean, another game of targeting 7 to 8 receivers. I mean, he sees the field. He likes to get the ball in multiple receivers' hands. Defense showed up when they needed to do, having a turnover on defense. Great momentum change. I mean, special teams making a play on the kickoff on the muff punt or the muff kickoff. I mean, guys were showing up, and we were able to build off of each other and put together a full 4 quarters, which we haven't been able to do all season. And so coming off a bye week, that's what you expect to do, and we did it.
Yeah, again, I love that you're describing all 3 phases: Bryce, offense, defense, special teams. Another moment that stuck out to me early, and maybe it's a small thing, but, as fans, you can get a little deja vu sometimes, right? A little PTSD when you lose in certain ways. And I think, you think about to Utah, the blocked field goal for a touchdown. You think to Iowa State, the fumbled snap on the punt, and it's blocked in return for a touchdown. Something about seeing Palmer Williams, he's unable to field that punt, that snap early in the second quarter, but somehow gets the punt away and gets a great roll as well, 63 yards. Maybe not all that big a deal in a grand scheme of things in a game that the Bears won by 24 points. But to me, that was another thing that just felt like, okay, maybe the breaks are a little more our way today than they have been. And then also, you credit Palmer Williams for under duress getting away a great punt. And, honestly, from that point on, the Bears would go on a stretch in which they outscored Texas Tech 52-21 at one point.
I mean, that's such an underrated part of the game. It's like punt, field position, getting punts inside the 20, that's a huge momentum shift, especially when you're a away team. Going into a hostile environment, if you can flip the field and you can get guys pinned down to make it hard for the offense to come out, that makes so much pressure comes off the defense. Like, you're pinned back a little bit. You kind of know they're going to take shots, be aggressive, so you can kind of tailor your defensive scheme to what this offense could do backed up. And so having a punter like, Palmer Williams, he's a weapon. I mean, being able to stay calm on a muff snap and be able to get it off, and I think he did a great job in that special team. I just like crediting all three phases and how important it is to play complementary football.
This is the Postgame Fan Forum. We're talking Baylor's win tonight over Texas Tech, 59-35, the final score. If you want to join in the conversation, you have three ways to do it. You can comment on our Baylor Athletics Facebook feed, on our Baylor Athletics YouTube feed, or you can tweet us your thoughts using the hashtag BUFanForum. Bryce, I want to ask you about the job Sawyer Robertson did this evening. I think we saw, he's been good, made some good plays and shown us a lot these last few weeks. But today we really saw what he could do against a good team when he's got a running game, providing a little extra wind at his back, 255 yards on the ground today for the Bears, 7.7 yards per carry. At times it seemed like Sawyer was almost surgical. 21 of 32, 274 yards, 5 touchdowns without an interception. Again, this is the first time in nearly a decade that a Baylor quarterback has thrown 5 touchdowns in a game. Seth Russell threw 5 against West Virginia on October the 17th of 2015. And, Bryce, it seems like we are seeing a young guy starting to bloom. He's been blooming, but I think we really saw him, today was a day that I think he's probably going to introduce himself to more people nationally than have seen him the last few games with a win like this. And to do it in your hometown, too, I think that says a little something, too. That stage was not too big for him. You like seeing guys who embrace those kind of moments rather than wilt in them, and boy, did he embrace it.
I mean, yeah, you love that, and you have so much respect for those guys who go back to their hometown and get a play in front of their friends and family where he grew up. I mean, I remember any time we would go into DKR and play against Texas, there was always a different kind of swagger of the week, a different kind of motivation you had going back to your hometown and playing. And, I mean, he did an awesome job, and this is just kind of what we were talking about in the pregame this week. And, what can he do to take his game to the next level? And I think when you have a running game, it really opens up and makes him more two-dimensional, because when you have a running game, you got to respect that, and once you respect that, then you can open up the passing game, and he's dangerous with his feet too. And so I think the sky's the limit for him, and I'm excited to see what he can do and continue to do if the rushing game continues after what it did tonight.
Hey, Bryce, on our YouTube channel right now, AF Blue 82 has a couple of comments about Sawyer that I'd like to get your take on. One, he says, Sawyer takes what the defense gives him and has been really good in the decision-making front. That's big because this is a Texas Tech team that was winning despite having the worst scoring defense in the Big 12. They've been forcing turnovers, and that was changing the game for them. Baylor protected the football today. He also said the touch on Sawyer's throws were really great. It seems to me like you're kind of getting the sense that there's not a lot of throws that Sawyer can't make. You might see guys with a stronger arm, and yet it seems like he's able to get the ball where it needs to be and when it needs to be for his receivers to make a play.
Well, I mean, he's doing a great job. His coaches are doing a great job of his progression, his reading his progressions, getting off his first receiver, getting off his first or second read to his third read, keeping his eyes downfield if he has to get out of the pocket. He does a great job of keeping his eyes down, and his first instinct isn't to tuck and run. It's to keep his eyes and look for the guy who's open, and it seems like he does a great job of finding the guy that's open and reading through his progressions. And as a defense, that's super frustrating because when you usually get a guy out of the pocket and those younger guys get frustrated and they want to tuck and run, or they're just trying to save the play. But he does a great job of keeping his eyes down the field, being disciplined, getting the ball where he needs to, and if it's not there, get rid of it or protect the ball and get down. Protecting the ball on away games is crucial to winning the game, and the great job taking care of the ball, making the right decisions. And so overall, I'm just really impressed on how his homecoming game went tonight.
Yeah, he had a great homecoming. You look at Kyler Jordan, the defense put together a great effort. Kyler Jordan also, they were high school rivals in Lubbock and now teammates on the Bears. Another guy we got to talk about, you mentioned him earlier, Josh Cameron, 6 receptions, 75 yards, and 3 touchdowns today. That's the first 3-touchdown game by a Baylor wide receiver since Denzel Mims against UTSA in 2019. So a big game for Josh Cameron. He had the 73-yard punt return. Bryce, we've talked about him, but it seems to me like he's just one of those guys on this team. There's always going to be a bigger name. There's always going to be someone maybe more athletic. But today he's going to earn some of those headlines with a 3-touchdown game. But I can just get the impression that's not even what matters to him. This is just a guy who finds a way repeatedly to make winning plays consistently in whatever role he's asked to be in.
I mean, him and Zoe are going to create great chemistry if they haven't already. Guys who are consistent and who show up when they need to show up, aren't flashy about it, do what they need to do, and take care of the football. And when you do the right thing and you practice that way, that just will eventually show up in games. And the way, I guarantee you that's the way he practices. He does everything intentional, looks the ball in, tucks it. His routes are right. The way he does his punt returns, he can read the hole well. The way he carries himself throughout the game, I think what he does in practice day in and day out shows up to the game. It's not an accident. He's getting 3 touchdowns a game. The way he carries himself, it's not by accident. He's playing well.
Another Austin area guy like yourself stepping up for the Bears today. Josh Cameron, 3 touchdowns, 75 yards receiving, and a 73-yard punt return to the 1-yard line that Baylor would punch in a play later. Some numbers in this game. Baylor finishes with 529 total yards. Texas Tech 455 yards. Decent number of those came late when they were way down. Another number worth noting, 59 points put together by the Baylor offense. That is the highest Big 12 point total of the Dave Aranda era. It's the most points since the Bears scored 69 against Albany in the 2022 season opener. But this is the highest scoring Big 12 game of Coach Aranda's tenure here at Baylor. 59-35 is the final score. A lot of highlights in this one. We're going to hear them when we come back on our Game Day Rewind segment. The calls from the voice of the Bears, John Morris, as we roll on. If you want to join in, you can tweet us, #BUFanForum. You can comment with your thoughts on the Baylor Athletics YouTube channel or on our Baylor Athletics Facebook stream as well. Game Day Rewind is coming up next on the Postgame Fan Forum. This is the Baylor Sports Media Network.
First Central Credit Union is cheering for the Bears. Our team advantages are
I'll be right back, Derek. I'm going to go grab Bob.
Board checking. Enjoy ATM-free refunds and be on the winning side.
Highlights are ready, though.
It's 2 days early. Huddle up with First Central to make deposits 24/7 at our ATMs and suit up in a free new member T-shirt. Visit online at firstcentralcu.com. Everything we do for you.
Eligibility and application requirements apply. APY equals annual percentage yield. Member NCUA.
Premier ER and Urgent Care has all the convenience of urgent care with all the expertise of an ER, all under one roof. At every visit, be seen by ER-trained staff with on-site lab and CT, X-ray, ultrasound, and EKG. Here, you pay for the appropriate level of care that you receive, and we are in network with most major insurance providers. Premier ER and Urgent Care has 4 convenient locations serving Texas: San Marcos, Temple, Waco, and Woodway. To learn more, visit www.premier.care.
It's Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get the 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab with an incredible $15,000 off MSRP. Or drive away in a 2024 Ram 2500 Tradesman Crew Cab with $10,000 off MSRP. A great selection with over 350 new to choose from. But hurry, these deals won't last long. Hurry into Allen Samuels in Waco today. First responders get an extra $500 off.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Are you a proud Baylor fan? Do you love prizes? The Baylor Sports app allows fans to track their attendance across athletic events and earn points using Baylor Bold Rewards. Baylor Athletics wants to reward the most loyal fans for cheering on the Bears, so register online today at BaylorBoldRewards.com or download the Baylor Sports app straight to your phone. Prizes this year are better than ever, so start earning your points today.
You're listening to Baylor Football on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
59-35, the Bears win today over the Texas Tech Red Raiders. The Bears now 3-4 on the season, 1-3 in Big 12 play. They snap Texas Tech's 4-game winning streak, and they snap their own 3-game losing streak. A very positive start to this second half of the season. And Bryce, before we hear the highlights, I want to ask you, there's nothing magical about the second half of this season, but there is something about coming off of a bye week, especially a bye week in which you've lost 3 straight games. In your mind, is there something? How much meaning should we take into that? The Bears, I think you got to look not just at the players but the coaches as well, clearly handled that bye week productively. Is that something that we should kind of put a lot of stock in as kind of a turning of the page?
I mean, when you go into a bye week, what you do is, as a coaching staff, you evaluate offense, defense, special teams, and you scout yourself. And so those first couple of days, the offense is scouting themselves, defense doing the same, special teams the same. And so when you kind of figure out what are your tells, what are your shows, what do you get better at, being able to communicate to the players and have the players respond to that is kind of the goal of the bye week. And so the fact that was kind of shown today, I think that is real important. And the bye week came at a good time, midway through the season. And so hopefully we can build off this. I mean, it's one win. We got multiple games left, and we just got to continue to play 1 week at a time, 1 win at a time, and hopefully we build off of it.
Well, the Bears certainly make the math, as we'll talk about a little bit later on. The math to reach a bowl game moves more in Baylor's favor with a win today. So Baylor certainly had a few things going against him. Playing on the road today, facing a team that had not lost at home. Baylor had lost 3 straight games. They had a few guys out. In fact, Brian tweeted in, said Josh Cameron was amazing. He asked, where was Ketron Jackson? Is he injured? And the answer was yes. Ketron Jackson was unavailable today. Kendrick Simpkins unavailable. Several guys in the secondary, in fact, were unavailable. Hal Presley was questionable, but he played. He had a touchdown catch. Well, luckily, so many other guys, as we're going to hear, stepped up today to make it easy not to worry too much about those guys who were unavailable. All right, let's listen now to how the game unfolded as we hear the calls with the voice of the Bears, John Morris and J.J. Joe. Both teams punted to start the football game, but Baylor on its second possession got a big run, a career-long 44-yard run from Bryson Washington down to the 1-yard line. And as we alluded to earlier, when Baylor tried to punch it in, the offensive line was ready to move that Texas Tech defensive line back a few yards.
Sawyer Robertson's back in the shotgun.
Oh, and just a heads up, the last touchdown's a pretty short call for Daquan.
Washington pulls his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Baylor Bears. Bryson Washington got him to the half-yard line on a 44-yard run. He covers the final half-yard, and Baylor has the early lead on Texas Tech.
So Texas Tech would answer on their next drive, however. A 12-yard touchdown pass to Caleb Davis tied it up at 7. But the Bears were up to the charge again after both teams traded punts. Big sequence in the special teams areas. We mentioned, too, in our first segment today, as for the Bears, Williams fumbled the snap on the from the long snapper Garrison Grimes, but still was able to uncork a 63-yard punt. It was a big play by Palmer Williams. Texas Tech gave it back to the Bears. Josh Cameron ripped off a 73-yard punt return, oh so close to punching it in, but Bryson Washington was once again able to finish the job.
73-yard punt return by Josh Cameron, ruled out of bounds at the half-yard line. So here we go, first and goal from the half-yard line. Snap back to Sawyer Robertson, give to Bryson Washington, into the end zone, touchdown Bears. Cross the goal line, pushed backwards, but Bryson Washington punches it in for his second touchdown of the season.
He finished with 2 touchdowns today and over 100 yards for the second time in his Baylor career. Bryce, this was a big special teams sequence. Palmer Williams fumbles the snap, gives the punt away. Drive later, punt later for Texas Tech. Josh Cameron returns at 73 yards, sets Baylor up for a one-play, 1-yard touchdown drive. And then on the kickoff, a short kickoff to Texas Tech at the 19-yard line. They muff it. Ra Dilworth recovers, and it leads to a quick 3 points for Baylor. I mean, that felt like a sequence to me. Made the day certainly feel different for the Bears, but that was the special teams unit, I think, saying that you're going to need to steal some yardage, you're going to need to steal some points to win a road game, and they were up to the challenge on that.
Yeah, I mean, when you make big plays on special teams, you have a very good chance of winning the game. And I was fired up on that kickoff when he muffed it and they scooped and scored, and I completely forgot the college rules that you can't advance to muff kickoff. And so I was fired up on that, and then I'm used to, I guess, the NFL rules where you can advance those. But, man, I was fired up. And then anytime you can make those plays on special teams, that just – you still possession, you still momentum, especially as the away team. That's what you love to see, and the guys continue to show that. And this is, like we talked about earlier, this is the first game we've kind of fired on all 3 cylinders and put it together a full game. And it shows if we can put up 59 points when we all play together. I mean, this team has some big expectations after this.
That gave the Bears a 17-7 lead with 10 minutes to go in the first half, that field goal after the muffed kickoff. Another big sequence in this game came late in the first half. Texas Tech embarks on a big 10-play, 80-yard drive. A receiver option pass to Caleb Douglas results in a Texas Tech touchdown. And you're thinking at that point, all right, boy, Texas Tech is right back in it now. They got some big momentum heading into the locker room. But Baylor would steal that momentum. A beautiful drive, 9 plays, 75 yards, taking just 1:50 off the clock. There were some big receptions on the drive. Michael Trigg had one, but Josh Cameron had the biggest as Sawyer Robertson found him in the back of the end zone.
Here's the play, 8 seconds to go. Snap back to Sawyer Robertson. Robertson to the end zone, and it's caught for a touchdown by Josh Cameron. Back of the end zone, Sawyer Robertson to Josh Cameron for the Baylor touchdown. What a drive in the final minute and a half of this second quarter. The Bears push it in to cover up that touchdown by Texas Tech.
Well, Bryce, what you saw there is what you want to see the Bears keep doing, because that's what I think winning teams do, right? Texas Tech had just appeared to gain momentum heading into the locker room, but the Bears, with all they needed was 1:50 to go, 75 yards. Sawyer Robertson again surgical, and they score a touchdown with 4 seconds left. I thought that was just a big-time stretch by this Baylor football team, and once again, it was sent kind of a message that the day was going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, you get points right before half. That's definitely the momentum you need going into halftime. That was kind of a little, I guess, foreshadow from a couple weeks ago against Iowa State, playing well in the first half and not able to come out and close the second half, but that was not the case tonight. The guys were able to play strong, play off the momentum from the first half, and keep preaching it. And you got to keep preaching it. You got to play all 4 quarters, no matter if you play good 1 or 2 or 3. You got to play all 4 and put a full game together, and tonight we did that.
That gave the Bears a 24-14 lead heading into the locker room. Texas Tech would cut into that, though, on their first drive of the second half as Taj Brooks ripped off a 31-yard run for a touchdown to cap off a 7-play, 86-yard drive. That pulled Texas Tech to within 3 at 21-24. And all of a sudden, the floodgates would open for the Bears, who would score 28 straight points in the third and fourth quarters. The first 6 points of that run came at the end of this 9-play, 75-yard, 5-minute drive by the Bears as Sawyer Robertson, who has that connection going with Josh Cameron, found him once again.
Trigg breaks in motion out to the right side. Pass right side to Cameron. Cameron's in for the Baylor touchdown. Second touchdown today by Josh Cameron. And the Bears cover up the Tech touchdown with one of their own. Baylor goes back up 30-21 on the Red Raiders.
Well, Baylor would do more than cover up that touchdown. A few plays later, a Caden Jenkins interception from Baron Morton. That was the first interception Morton has thrown at Jones AT&T Stadium this season. Well, it was a big one. Caden Jenkins gets the pick, and Baylor would almost immediately extend that lead.
Robertson looks left, passes left. He's got a man. Catch made at the 10-yard line. Touchdown, Bears. Into the end zone, Hal Presley for Baylor. Beautiful pass, Sawyer Robertson to Hal Presley, and the Bears dial it up to a 37-21 lead on Texas Tech.
Well, Ricky, extra point made it 38-21, and that was a nice pass from Sawyer Robertson as Hal Presley was able to get by the coverage. Maybe some miscommunication there, but a nice find made it easy for a guy who'd been injured just to pluck it out of the air and run it in for a touchdown. And I think this Baylor team, you're going to have guys, Josh Cameron was an alpha in a lot of ways today, but I think when Baylor's clicking, you referred to it earlier, Bryce, you're distributing the ball to a lot of guys, and if you do it well, a lot of different guys are going to find the end zone.
Now 16 yards on the previous play, and 34 on that one. So 50 yards rushing by Bronson Washington on back-to-back plays. Pass, sideline, Monterey Baldwin. He tumbles into the end zone. Touchdown, Baylor. He'll get a penalty for doing the somersault, but a touchdown pass from Sawyer Robertson to Monterey Baldwin. And the Bears go up 44-21 on Texas Tech.
Extra point made it 45-21. And Bryce, that point I was going to talk to you about remains there because there you see Monterey Baldwin in taking the screen pass down the left sideline for a touchdown. You know, when Baylor is going well, a lot of guys are getting involved. You see that there. Hal Presley, Monterey Baldwin getting good finds from Sawyer Robertson. It just felt like they were really, really clicking there with confidence.
Well, that's what I find so impressive about Sawyer is the way he can distribute the ball to multiple receivers and he sees the field. He doesn't lock into one guy, one receiver he likes. I mean, a lot of young quarterbacks find that one or two guys they like and they stick with those guys and they don't find them. They tuck and run or they throw the ball away. He goes through his progressions. He finds the open guy and he distributes the ball to multiple receivers, and that's what's really impressive about him.
Well, that touchdown pass to Monterey Baldwin. Hey, by the way, before we go past that, Bryce, I get that there needs to be some sanctions for some of the excessive celebrations. I think I'm sort of the opinion that if you are so far ahead of everyone else that you can make a somersault leap into the end zone, I don't know. Should you just be allowed to do that? I mean, I get that that's a penalty, and by the letter of the law, it should be, but there's also a part of me that's like, you're not making a gesture. You're just making a leap into the end zone because you're excited.
No, absolutely. I'm a huge advocate of let the guys celebrate, let them have fun. I mean, you deserve taking the ball for a touchdown. If you want to flip in the end zone, do it. Just don't hurt yourself doing it. I mean,
yeah.
if they're gonna call a penalty, you probably shouldn't. Make sure you probably shouldn't. This is the way the game is ruled. But by all means, I think you should celebrate, have fun. That's part of the game. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a game. You should have fun with it.
I saw Dallas Baker giving him a little bit of admonition there as he headed to the sideline. After that, Coach Arand, they kind of pointed his head just a little bit. There's a part of me. I mean, do players know when they can? Some players know when to get away with that stuff. I guess if you're going to make a somersault leap that you know is going to get you a penalty, maybe do it when you're up 45-21 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's what, because I mean, that's just put you in bad field position off the kickoff, and you score a touchdown. That's usually where that penalties in plays or on the field goal. So, like, closer games, you got to be more mindful of it. But if you got a comfortable lead, I mean, let the guys have fun, do stuff like that. I mean, it's the nature of the game. At the end of the day, it's a football. It's a game.
Well, Baylor, after that touchdown from Monterey Baldwin, they did have better field position, Texas Tech, but they still turned the ball over on downs. When Baylor got it back, it took them only 4 plays to go 30 yards in 2 minutes and 19 seconds. And for the third time on the day, Sawyer Robertson found Josh Cameron.
Down and 5 for the Bears from the 12-yard line. Sawyer Robertson fakes the handoff, rolls right, passes end zone, caught, touchdown, Josh Cameron.
Josh Cameron there, that's his 3rd touchdown of the day. It was the first 3-touchdown game for a Baylor wide receiver since Denzel Mims did it against UTSA in 2019. And Bryce, when you're talking about 3 touchdowns in one day, obviously that's a career day in terms of putting points on the board for receiver, and he's etching his name up there. I mean, you're starting to talk about not a lot of guys have done that in Baylor history. You've got a guy in Denzel Mims, who was a second-round NFL draft pick. A former teammate of yours, Corey Coleman, who was an All-American, had 3 touchdowns in that game against West Virginia. In fact, I believe that may have been the game that Seth Russell threw 5 touchdown passes. You like seeing guys step up, and that was a guy, Josh Cameron, who showed that he's capable of giving you a game that is not unlike what some of the all-time Baylor greats have done.
3 touchdowns, receiving, passing, any kind of rushing, 3 touchdowns of any kind is impressive, and able to do it when it hasn't been done in a decade, like you said. I mean, it's impressive, and so he keeps doing what he's doing. He's going to keep showing up. He's going to keep making plays, and him and Sawyer are just going to keep building chemistry. And so I think for those guys, they have a pretty special future ahead of them.
That made it at that point 52-21 in favor of the Bears. Texas Tech would answer with a touchdown early. That was about midway through the fourth quarter to make it 52-27. But Baylor had one more touchdown left after Sawyer Robertson was pulled with Baylor comfortably ahead. Good to see DeQuan Finn play for the first time since the Utah game, and he reminded everyone that he's got some pretty good wheels.
Finn to the end zone, touchdown Bears.
I think Ricky said something during the breakdown.
Yeah, that was just about how fast it was there, Bryce, as DeQuan Finn was able to reel off the 34-yard touchdown run. I think certainly we've seen Sawyer Robertson is the quarterback and should be, but you don't mind seeing a guy like DeQuan Finn get some reps in because, season is long, the season is hard. If you ever need him, you don't want to be too rusty, and kind of like seeing him get a chance to come in and get that exclamation mark as a guy who had a lot of headlines, but we've only seen for about a quarter and a half.
Well, yeah, anytime you can get to a point where you're comfortable to let other guys get in there and take reps, like all those reps are good experience, shake some cobwebs off, especially if you haven't played a couple games. Like when you can get guys in, because like you said, you never know, football's a very fluid game, and the next man up mentality always needs to be there. So whatever your starters are doing or whatever your key players are doing, the guys behind them need to be just as good and ready and just as prepared as there's next snap they're up. So I'd love to see guys when they're able to get up or get in the rotation and get plays going. It's good. It's good overall for the team.
Texas Tech would score one final touchdown, a cosmetic change to the final score. 59-35, the final in this one. Baylor snaps a 3-game losing streak. Also, that 8-game Big 12 losing streak is history as well. So that's it for Game Day Rewind. We're going to come back. We're going to answer some questions from YouTube. We're going to look at other scores from around the Big 12 and around the nation as we roll on the Postgame Fan Forum. We're brought to you by Rudy's, proud sponsor of Baylor football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. Don't forget, Rudy serves breakfast tacos every day until 10 a.m. He's Bryce Hager. I'm Derek Smith. Aaron Sexton, our producer, and we'll be back after this on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
When life gets complicated, that last touchdown, they were talking right up until the handoff.
Whether you need estate planning documents such as a will, trust, or guardianship, and
that's why, they're talking about the whole game in general. The backup quarterback's in, and then he houses it.
family-related legal matters, or various business-related issues, we are your community firm.
Wait, 20-0 Georgia, 4 minutes before the half.
managing a business, our experience. I hope they beat them by 100. I really do. Trust us to provide the legal support you need. Call today, 406-641-BUTZ. That's 406-641-2889. Or come by the Waxahachie office at 301 South Rogers Street, Suite 202, downtown Waxahachie. Come see the difference having a trusted attorney by your side can make, because at Butts Law Firm, your legal rights are our business.
This season, beat the holiday rush and shop Astound.com for bigger deals, bigger savings, and bigger internet. For a limited time, get Astound Internet for only $20 a month for 2 years. Plus, add 5G unlimited Astound Mobile free for 12 months. Our award-winning fiber-powered internet can handle it all. Faster streaming, better gaming, and secure online shopping. Lock in bigger savings than ever before at Astound.com. Restrictions apply. See Astound.com for details.
At H-E-B, we know that game day is about more than the game itself. The taste of victory is unparalleled, but so is the taste of H-E-B jalapeno poppers hot off the grill. Seeing the best players in their prime is truly something to behold. So is an H-E-B Prime 1 burger that you grilled to perfection. For low prices on all the things that make game day great and delicious, visit H-E-B, your official game day headquarters, or use the Buy H-E-B app to start prepping for game day right away.
From the Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios, this is KRZI Waco, K222DC Waco, K265DV Temple, ESPN Central Texas.
You're listening to Baylor Football on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
We welcome you back into the Postgame Fan Forum alongside Bryce Hager and Aaron Sexton. I'm Derek Smith. Fun one today for the Bears as they knock off the Red Raiders at home by a score of 59-35. Baylor scoring 28 consecutive points at a stretch in the third and fourth quarters. It's the most points in a Big 12 game of the Dave Aranda era. Sawyer Robertson throws 5 touchdown passes. It is the first 5-touchdown game for a Baylor quarterback since Seth Russell threw 5 of them against West Virginia back in 2015. Meanwhile, Josh Cameron has Baylor's first 3-touchdown game for a wide receiver in 5 years. Last time someone did that was Denzel Mims at UTSA in 2019. If you want to join in the conversation, you can tweet us using the hashtag BUFanForum on Twitter, or you can comment on the Baylor Athletics Facebook or YouTube channels. People are doing that. And Bryce, let's look at a few of these questions here now. First, I don't know if a Polo Bear is a friend of yours, but he says Bryce is the man, all-time Baylor great. So your fan club grows here on YouTube, Bryce. And then some,
I appreciate you guys.
Yep, Sick'em Polo Bear. There you go. So appreciate that comment. And then some others people are asking about. Curious. Let's talk about the defensive effort from Texas Tech. Obviously, Bryce, Baylor had a big game today. Baylor with over 500 yards and very balanced as well. It's funny. I was talking to Jerry Hill in the pregame show, the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show, and we were talking about Baylor's need to get the running game going. And I made the comment, we don't need 250 yards, but just make you worry about it. You just have the running game be good enough that Texas Tech has to think of it. Well, turns out Baylor did get 250 yards. In fact, 255 on the ground, 274 through the air. So, Bryce, Texas Tech, when you coming in, they had the worst scoring defense in the Big 12, but it kind of a hallmark of Joey McGuire. They've been a team that's been able to force turnovers. They've had a tendency at times to bend, but not to break. But Baylor protected the football today, which was obviously big. That was one phase of it. So I'm curious, what did you see from the Texas Tech defense? So they didn't get a lot of pressure on Sawyer Robertson, which was a good thing. And so to kind of set up here, I think Reefer's comments on YouTube, he said the defense, their defense didn't get too much penetration, so he's hopeful. He said Texas Tech is not good overall defensively, which is true. So would you say today was a game that Baylor did what they were supposed to do against a defense like that, or did they even do a little bit more than that?
Well, I think the offensive line did what they needed to do. They protected the quarterback. I mean, Sawyer did what he needed to do. He needed to get the ball to his playmakers, protect the ball, not create turnovers. The running backs did their job. Read their linemen well. They ran well. They protected the ball as well. I mean, defenses like that, you got to take advantage of their weaknesses, and if their strengths are creating turnovers, and you have to practice that as an offense. Like maybe that week of offense, make sure there's a little bit more emphasis on protecting the ball. Maybe a little bit drills of trying to punch the ball out. If you're the coaches, really emphasizing that all week, just knowing that's one of their strengths. And I think they did a great job of knowing what they were up against and how they were able to attack it. And so great offensive schemes by the coaches, good job by the players executing what they had to execute.
Some other good questions we have on here right now. A question from AF Blue 82. He wants to know what was more impressive, unexpected, and impactful in this game. The OL, the offensive line, or the defensive back group? Again, worth noting, the offensive line has had its struggles this year, even when healthy. Then you've got a secondary that has had guys in and out, right? Caden Jenkins been out. He was back in today, had an interception. You had guys like Kendrick Simpkins unavailable. You had Tevin Williams, who was out today. And honestly, this Baylor defense, we've talked about it, they haven't forced a whole lot of turnovers on the year, but they did they did today. So, I'm curious, which do you think, I know which one I think it was, but I'm curious your thought first, Bryce. Which was more maybe surprising and impactful today?
For me, I'm just naturally like to fall on defensive stuff, but for this offensive line, I mean, you gotta be able to run the ball at the end of the day. That just opens up so much more to your offense, and so they were more impressive to me today. And if they can just build off what they did, continue the stretch for the rest of these conference games, we should have a chance to put ourselves in a position where we should be bowl eligible and maybe get that extra win. And so if our offensive line can build off of that and we can continue to protect the ball, those guys really impressed me tonight. So build off that and let's keep rocking and rolling.
And I would agree completely, Bryce. I mean, you're talking about a running game that was averaging about 135 yards per game, 3.5 yards per carry. Well, today 7.7 yards per carry, 255 yards. Well, we got a sense of what this offense could be when it's multidimensional. So that's a great question there, and appreciate that question there. And I thought that was a good thought there, and I think we're both on the same page. That the offensive line, but hey, credit the secondary too. They had the turnover, they forced the turnover, and Texas Tech scored some points and got some yards. But obviously, there were long stretches of the game where Baylor's defense kept them from really putting anything together. Appreciate that question, AF Blue 82. Polo Bear asks Bryce, at what point were you like, we are definitely winning this game? I think. As fans, there's been that sense of we've lost so many close games late. There's a little bit of nervousness. We've blown some leads, but today, obviously, that was not going to be the case. Was there a moment when you felt to yourself like, okay, today's different? Not just today's different, but like, okay, we're definitely winning this.
Well, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like I think for me, I was like, we played a good first half, and so my big thing, I was like, how are we going to respond? How are we going to come out at halftime? Are we going to be able to start fast? Are we going to be able to continue off the momentum we had in that first half? And showed it through the third quarter, and kind of once we passed the third quarter, I felt comfortable with like, okay, these guys are playing well, they're playing cohesive, they're playing all three phases well, and that's kind of when I felt comfortable, because things can turn fast, especially when the away game, momentum can swing one play away from that happening, and so I kind of wanted to see how that third quarter was going to go after we played a pretty good second half, or first half.
You touched on momentum can always swing just that quickly. If Blue 82 asks, has Baylor found its mojo? Is this something they still need to prove they can sustain across games? I mean, and probably to some level, Bryce, I think right now for this team, they're not on such a roll that you just feel week in, week out, okay, they're going to get this done. So I think probably the rest of this year, in so many close games potentially, you're going to need to keep proving it week in and week out. But, boy, today was a statement that, hopefully that the first half of the season is in the rear view, and it's given them something to really build on, I think, for the first time in Big 12 play in probably a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's one game. You got to take 1 week at a time, one game at a time, and build off of whatever happens and whatever's presented to you that week. This week, we played well. We were able to play all 4 quarters well, so build off that. So next week, we're going to try to go 1-0 again and just continue to build off that. And so there's definitely good things we did tonight, and there's definitely things we need to work on and continue to get better. So if we can take those good and build off of it, I really think we have another good chance to go 1-0 next week.
Baylor will take on Oklahoma State in the homecoming game next Saturday at 2:30. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Appreciate those questions, everybody. Before we go to break, let's take a look at other scores today from around the Big 12, and actually starting last night. 13th-ranked BYU remained undefeated. A late touchdown pass, a 35-yard pass to Darius Lassiter with 10 seconds to go, stuns Oklahoma State and gives BYU a dramatic 38-35 victory over Oklahoma State. BYU remains undefeated. At the moment, they and Iowa State are in the driver's seat for Arlington, although that could be looking a little bit differently, and we'll tell you why in just a moment. Of course, the Baylor final today, 59-35 over Texas Tech. Colorado improved to 3-1 in Big 12 play. They've continued their winning ways. They dominated the Arizona Wildcats in Tucson 34-7. Kansas finally put a complete game together, getting their first Big 12 win of the season at Arrowhead Stadium. They beat Houston 42-14. Cincinnati is knocking at the door, trying to make their presence known, trying to get to Arlington. They are now 5-2, 3-1 in Big 12 play after defeating Arizona State 24-14. Two games are ongoing right now, and they're interesting ones. 17th-ranked Kansas State leads West Virginia 17-10 at halftime. And right now, 9th-ranked Iowa State has found themselves in a dogfight in Ames. UCF has a 21-14 lead late in the second half there. And, you know, Bryce, you look at some of these scores. The Big 12 right now, you've got, boy, I think from a Baylor standpoint, it's going to be a while before you don't start thinking, oh, what if we'd found a way to beat Colorado? We don't give up that Hail Mary. What if we, hadn't got off to a bad start against BYU? You can't think that way. But, the reality is Baylor's a couple plays away from being right in the mix. There's a lot of teams in the Big 12 right now that are going to have a chance to make Arlington. And it's starting to feel like, there's not a lot of weak links in this conference either. I think Houston would be the clearest example of that. Frankly, Arizona kind of has been as well. They have struggled this year. But, boy, you look at UCF right now with a late lead in the second half in Ames, Iowa. In fact, it is now halftime. They lead the Cyclones 21-14. There really just aren't a lot of pushovers in this conference this year.
I mean, it seems like there could be potentially, with a few more weeks going by, there could be multiple one-loss teams, and so it could be interesting, kind of figuring out how you're going, like you said, how that's going to work out for Arlington. And so that's what's beautiful football. Week by week, anyone can beat anyone, and so that's why you love it and love to watch it. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how things shape out as these weeks go by.
Some good games in the top 25 today. 11th-ranked Tennessee gets a big home win against 7th-ranked Alabama. The Crimson Tide are now 2-2 in SEC play as Tennessee beats them 24-17. 6th-ranked Miami found themselves in a shootout in Louisville, and they held on for a 52-45 victory. And tell you what, right now, not a whole lot of first-half drama down in Austin, Bryce, in your hometown. 5th-ranked Georgia with a 20-0 lead late first half over UT. I'm not going to lie, I would not shed any tears if that result played out over the course of 60 minutes. But really, Georgia coming in and asserting themselves early down there against the Longhorns.
I would be right there with you. I'd shed no tears. I mean, I got a lot of family connections at Texas, but with me, every time I see them get an L, it's a good day for me.
I'm right there with you. So I imagine a lot of people watching and listening. For those who don't know, Bryce's dad and brother both played for UT. So you've got it's kind of 2-on-1 in the Hager family. So I think we're all rooting for you to have as many reasons to brag as possible, or as many reasons to get on them.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's always fun to get on them when something like this happens. So hopefully Georgia can hold on and give them that goose egg at home, which would be real fun to see.
Well, it is 20-0 late first half down there in Austin. We'll take a timeout and come back, talk about what we liked in this game, what we didn't like, and then when we close things out a little later on, we'll look ahead to next week's homecoming game against Oklahoma State. And a reminder, the Baylor Coaches Show, presented by Central National Bank, live at Rudy's, is returned. Join the voice of the Bears, John Morris, in the lineup of Baylor coaches live at Rudy's every Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30. for a chance to hear all the inside scoop of our Baylor Athletics programs this season. Again, that's the Baylor Coaches Show presented by Central National Bank. I'll be there on Wednesday to hear from Baylor women's basketball head coach Nikki Collin. Baylor women's basketball ranked number 12 in the preseason poll. It'll be her and Coach Dave Aranda. So a lot of fun things to talk about. That is Wednesday night at Rudy's. We'll take a timeout and come back with more. We'll look at the highs and lows of this game, get thoughts on what we liked and what we want to improve on next week against Oklahoma State. A lot to like today, though, in a 59-35 victory for the Bears over Texas Tech. And we'll be back after this on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
Premier ER and Urgent Care has all the convenience of urgent care with all the expertise of an ER, all under one roof. At every visit, be seen by ER-trained staff with on-site lab and CT, X-ray, ultrasound, and EKG. Here, you pay for the appropriate level of care that you receive, and we are in-network with most major insurance providers. Premier ER and Urgent Care has 4 convenient locations serving Texas: San Marcos, Temple, Waco, and Woodway. To learn more, visit www.premier.care.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Come see why Green Eye Associates is voted best in Waco year after year. Enjoy exceptional service and care from Dr. Leanne Green alongside her dedicated optometrist and staff. Receive trustworthy insights on your eye health. Enjoy the impressive variety of contacts and eyewear and work with the most experienced optical team in Waco. Don't miss the new state-of-the-art dry eye therapies that rejuvenate the eyes and face with safe, non-invasive treatments to restore comfort and quality of life. Green Eye Associates, official optometrist of Baylor Athletics.
Hey Baylor fans, Baylor soccer season is currently underway. Come be a part of the action at Betty Lou Mays Field all season long and watch head coach Michelle Leonard and the Bears battle against the best in the Big 12. Score your tickets for game day right now at BaylorBears.com/tickets. We'll see you at Betty Lou. Sick 'em Bears.
You're listening to Baylor Football, on the Baylor Sports Media Network.
Alongside Bryce Hager, Derek Smith here with you on the Postgame Fan Forum. Our producer is Aaron Sexton. Fun one tonight following a 59-35 Baylor win over Texas Tech. And Bryce, time now to talk about what we like, what we didn't like. And I think obviously on a day like today, there's a lot more to like than some weeks and a lot less to complain about. I think a couple of things are obvious right off the bat. Sawyer Robertson, fantastic today. 21-32, 274 yards, 5 touchdowns. Again, the first 5 touchdown passing game by a Baylor quarterback since Seth Russell did it against West Virginia in 2015. And then he had Josh Cameron with the first 3 touchdown game by a Baylor wide receiver in 5 years. Those guys, I think, stand out in a lot of ways. What were some other superlatives for you? Maybe even some things that might fly a little under the radar that lead to not just winning today's game by 24 points, but are going to win you some close games late.
I mean, I think just overall, I just really finally impressed of a game where all 3 phases are playing with each other. I mean, complementary football, they played all 4 quarters, and that's something we've been preaching all season. When is that game going to happen? When are they going to be able to put something together where they can come together and look like a team that plays fluidly, that plays off each other, that's able to feed off one another? Whenever one's not playing well, the other one can pick the other side up. And just think, overall, I think for me, it's just the team coaches. I think they did a great job coming off the bye, getting everything that they needed to get correct. And so my thing would be, coaches and players as a whole. I was impressed by tonight.
Yeah, and I want to give the coaches a shout out as well because, obviously they get a lot of flack when the team's not winning. But today, after a bye week, they came out and really put it to a Texas Tech team that was also coming off a bye week, right? Texas Tech also had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and yet it was Baylor on their home turf really putting it to them. It was Texas Tech's homecoming game. They just had a lot of little things in their favor, but Baylor really came out and set the tone early. I liked too, Bryce, that Baylor made some field flipping plays, some game changing plays. There was the Josh Cameron punt return. There was Palmer Williams fielding that low snap after fumbling it, getting the punt away. And, those are two big special teams things. There was that Caden Jenkins interception. Those were the big plays. Baylor it's eluded them right over the first half of the season. You're going to need some of those to win ball games. It's just one game, but today they were able to get that. Are there other kind of secondary areas that you were pleased with? I think we got to give a shout